Welcome everyone. This is the K8s-Infra meeting. We are September 27, like usual. This meeting is under the code of conduct, so please respectful of anyone in this call. I'm the host, but who's gonna be the note taker?
I can do notes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Every time I do notes, I'm bad at it.
No, don't say that. Before we start the different rituals, do we have someone new in the call? I want to introduce myself.
You're muted, Arno.
Okay, no one to offer an introduction. So let's go next. Billing report. I don't think I see anything unusual for the past 3 weeks. So we're pretty, I think we keep having the same way of consume GCP resources.
I feel like we're pretty stable on GCP spend.
Yeah, we might get some increase over time. We don't notice that because we are moving a few proud job from Google to GCP. So I think this is something we'll notice over time, maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which might be the only change I'm aware of. But like, if you see something, feel free to. Yeah, so I think we're almost end of the month. So yeah, I don't see anything different compared to last month. Yeah, we have not. Yeah, we got some kind of increase for protocol, which might reflect the pro job migration. But other than that, yeah, BigQuery is related to the effort to investigate failure after pro job migration. I think, yeah, James increased them to offer this, but we never reported it. So I think that's a normal thing. For DNS, I suspect package.case.io. Yeah, gathering, because yeah, we now have that subdomain and we have people using that. That might match. I can take a look. They might, yeah. I think yeah, it's the only thing I was supposed to add. We can take a look later if needed. It's not that much. So I think that's fine. Any question regarding billing for GCP?
None here. I think we're good.
Yeah. On AWS. Wait. Yeah. Okay. First news is like we have the 5K node test running on AWS, so we now burn like it's like the highest cost in the AWS bill.
That's a big woof.
Yeah. Yeah, going from 1,000 to 100,000. Yeah, that's a big growth. I'm not really surprised. So I think that was the expectation. So yeah, I think it's gonna be like a thing now. We need like something we need to pay attention over time.
How often are those running?
I don't remember. Two things
Go dig.
happening here. Yeah, two things happening. We have periodic run and we have manual runs. Basically, 3 job trigger manually to do tests. So this may not reflect the average consumption because we still investigate. I think we spend the entire month. When I say we, mostly folks working on that spend the entire month trying to debug and improve K8s in order to make that happen. So I'm not sure this is going to be the real cause. I will not try to forecast the cost of that account based on September. I think we need to there's still a few things we need to work on before we get an average cost. Yeah, Dibs is not here to give more detail about this, but I'm pretty sure there's still a few things that need to be addressed before we basically have an average cost for the 5K node test.
Just on the cost for AWS, there is at the moment $83,000 of credit left in the account for this week. I didn't check the consumption up to now. So when I checked over the weekend on your Sunday, we had 83,000 left, and the previous 2 weeks we burned about $50,000. So we should just be cautious that we don't, in the last few days of the month, burn through 83,000, because that will be uncomfortable. I have spoken to AWS. They're gonna give us new credits at the beginning of October, which would be okay because the bill only deducts at the end of every month. So if we just make it through with another 50,000 this week, we'll be good for. I'll check it again on Sunday.
Yeah, I think we treated left. We treated left to first week on October. It's really up now, up to how you guys want to be fast on this. I don't have control on how they inject credit, so we made the request for it. We just have to wait for it.
Yeah, I'm just saying we should just be careful not to burn through more than 83 in this week. But I think we'll be good if we just follow the same pattern, because for the last 2 weeks we were at 50.
Okay.
And then on that topic, what around AWS at the moment, if we spend the way we spend now, we're going to reach almost 2.7 million. If we continue at that rate, 2.7 million a year, projected over 365 days if we take the current daily rate. So we just should keep that in mind, that we're almost at the peak of what we could spend on AWS. If we keep spending at the rate that we are doing now. Well, it won't be a problem for this year, but just thinking forward to next year. If we spend next year at this rate, we will almost touch 3 million.
Yeah,
without adding anything.
I think next year is a next year conversation. So I think we need to basically finish what we're doing right now, and maybe beginning of next year we come back to this conversation again and see what we can do in terms of cost. I would say cost and optimization. I'm not really worried about that. Not really worried about the trend we are, because I think we're good on that. I think we are really good on that. But when we finish, the main goal here was basically having job running on AWS and also trying to move things outside of Google, which is a thing in progress, and that's the good thing. And later we can talk about cost optimization when we are end of the year.
The one thing I'll say, well, I have 2 things to say. One, and Justin kind of typed out exactly what I was going to say. We're at the point where we can kind of tune things and I looked it up and I linked it. This scale job is running every 12 hours. We could have our costs by having it run every 24 hours, at least in terms of the scale test. And we're still probably getting like data resolution that's useful for us and not really, you know, impacting too much. So that's good. To that, I agree. However, what I will say is I know in Chicago for KubeCon, there are going to be discussions about what the donations are going to be for 2024. So this isn't necessarily a let's wait until the end of the year type of thing. This is something that we need to think about sooner than December. Sooner than November.
No, I think I don't want to say no. I don't think we have a specific control of the donation. I would say from a SIG perspective and perspective, we don't have control on that. That's why right now we monitor costs. We acknowledge what's the average cost is going to be. Basically, we have some kind of forecast until end of the year. But basically between now and November, there's a lot of things we can do, like maybe, like you say, optimize.
Yep.
Job brand, those kind of things. So I'm like, I don't want to think about this because we still have room to improve things. Like there's a lot of story behind those accounts. So we didn't cover the full story about how we basically use the cloud provider right now. So I think like right now, let's have a full picture of the infrastructure and think about how we do optimization. I don't want to do optimization when I don't have the full picture of everything.
And also something else to add on top of that, looking at how much work we migrated off GCP, and then the same statement that I made about Amazon, we're almost at the threshold. Google, we're actually now headed for about 1.6 million a year with the way that we burn it now, which again opens the conversation of all the things that's still inside Google. We couldn't move anything because there was no room to move. So that's also to GV's comment about we need to think about the future. There is now room to move. So that conversation can also happen now on burning more money on Google because there's space to move.
Yeah, again, those are the conversation and next year conversation. I want to focus on the present and trying to address things I can address quickly. Like I don't want big plan because we're almost end of the year and there's like still a lot of things to do. So I'm like, let's focus on getting through the full infrastructure owned by the community before we talk about costs. Because if we try to do optimization right now and later say, oh, we hit technical blocker, that might conflict at some point. Like I don't want to spend too much on the conversation because there's a lot of if in this.
I also think we're on the same page. I think we're just kind of saying we mean the same thing, but we're saying different things. Like in my mind, we still have a whole lot of work to do to move things, right? And we need to focus on that first and foremost. The only thing that I'm saying is like in my role and what I'm doing, I need to make sure that we are thinking about 2024 because in a month and a half, I'm going to have those discussions in Chicago. So
in Chicago, we're going to have red wine to have those conversations. So don't worry about that.
Yes, that is also true.
Yeah.
So I think we're good.
Yeah.
I have 2 remarks to make about the AWS bill. So we can expect that Prow usage is going to go up because I have been seeing, for example, at some point we were close to 40 instances that we usually had 20 instances. And now we increased the maximum number of instances to like 70. We might see it going up. Now, the number is lower. We had lower number of rollouts, but this is something to keep an eye given that we are migrating more and more jobs. So it's still not bad, but it's something to keep in mind that it might go a bit up. Another thing that's going up is the OBS usage. It's still not bad, but it got from a few dollars to a few $100. I think it is at 400 or something like that. It's going more and more up. So the usage is definitely picking up. It's not bad, it's nothing, but it's something to keep in mind in case we see even more increase. So I honestly don't know how many users are adopting it, but the usage is going up, and actually CloudFront is quite expensive, it seems like. So this is something to pay attention to.
I have to be honest, anything less than $2,000 is not worth the conversation. Honestly.
I would agree with that, definitely. I just say that we might want to keep in mind to keep track of it to see how is it going, because we are definitely seeing an increase in both traffic and bill.
Yeah, I think when we're gonna basically reach the point where that account is like spending 2K per month, yeah, I think I will start to worry about that. Anything less than 2K, we should not worry about that at all.
Just I'll caveat that as long as we can repoint it easily, right? Like we don't want, as long as it's just a domain name, we can repoint it wherever we want. We don't have like case GCRIO or whatever it is. Like
yeah, because we are in full control, so we can drop the CloudFront, serve directly from S3. This is gonna basically reduce the cost. CloudFront is kind of cheap because CloudFront doesn't account for the region of the client. So it's a global distribution that you pay for that. And I think currently here, what we pay for, I think if I go in, I'm not sure. I look to the detail, it's mostly US and Europe right now. So over time, which is basically, it's a slow adoption. Basically, like any open source project, it takes time to get adoption of new things. So we will see those things maybe 2025, sorry. Like where we say, oh yeah, people switch to the new system package distribution platform because they did an upgrade, those kind of things. So that's why I'm saying right now, I'm not really worried about that. So. Anything else regarding the bill for AWS? I have some questions, but only for Teams because I see a few things. Anything else?
Think we good.
So the first item for the open discussion, like we don't have quorum. I mean, Teams is not here, so I'm not. I can start the conversation, but we are not getting consensus because Teams is not here. I'm happy to switch to skip it. Or we can talk about that because I saw, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna skip it maybe for next meeting. The second item is the deprecation of the Kubernetes release bucket. Now we have Fastly. I think we can start to switch to a community-owned bucket. I wish I talk about this in one previous SIG release. So I'm talking under macro approval. I think for 129, we want to announce deprecation and do the switch in 130, which is next year. So yeah, for this milestone, the idea will be to explore the technical blockers to switch to a community-owned bucket. in 1:30 we start to release from a new bucket. I think, yeah, that's like the main point. I have like a few issues I need to open about this, basically regarding infrastructure setup, sync with Relange, and see what we can do. What's the plan? But the goal should be, I don't know if we want to make a communication this milestone or like wait, we are done with some kind of technical audit and do the announcement. So right.
Now I'm okay with going with technical audit first and then doing announcement.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can do that. Any question regarding this? So next is Fatih and Chiefy.
Just to recap what this topic is about. Jiffy and I have been talking about this idea for a while, and I think during August 16th infra meeting, we shared the proposal with the meeting participants of that meeting, and we received some feedback during the meeting as well as between the meeting and now. And we want to continue the conversation around the proposal and ask for additional feedback. And the two main topics we received feedback during the meeting and during the last month was what should be the eligibility criteria. As you know, release shadow program allows everyone to apply, but the feedback during the meeting was like we should perhaps limit the applicants to Kubernetes organization members only. And the second feedback was about the timeline and terms. So I made those updates on the document and highlighted those parts where the updates were made. And just again, wanted to bring this to attention of the group.
I think the other thing that I'll add is, as much as K8s-Infra stuff has gotten a lot done, especially in the last 8 months, we don't really want K8s-Infra to be Arnaud, Dims, and Ben and Justin in a trench coat, as we keep saying. So let's at least try and get some things going that gets more people involved. We need this to be a more community sustained effort. Go ahead. Arno. Like,
No, I
you're the
need
host
to
of the
raise
meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Just to clarify, a shadow in this program is not pay as a contractor. It's more like the SIG release program, we basically provide it in. Okay.
Yes.
So
this is me without my CNCF hat on, but with plenty of CNCF insights. We cannot assume that the CNCF will pay for contractors till the end of time. So this needs to be a community-driven effort.
okay. So I'm gonna be, I didn't fully read the entire proposal, but I think my take will be we need to reduce our assumption basically based on the shadow. We should be about just say to people, show up. Just show up. If you're interested to do the job, do it. Not specific requirement. You don't necessarily need to know the cloud provider in detail, or basically the one thing we're looking for is people coming and doing some kind of commitment. That's like the one thing we need. the technical requirement, I would say it's a +1, because if you want to basically have people, especially for what we do, have people coming and stay for long term, you want to be I think you need to establish a way to attract them.
Yep.
And in order to do that, just lower the technical barrier, because that's like basically asking to people coming for free and doing infrastructure work, saying, oh, you need to know cloud provider. It's like you're trying to gatekeep the thing. So I'm like, I feel like we should just say to people, come, if you're interested to do this for free, we can work together and try to basically help you gain the knowledge. And if you want to stay, yeah, that's fine. But
I feel like you might run into problems though, because there are certain things right now that only a very select number of people have access to. And so if everyone else got hit by a bus, there's going to be a problem, right? And so it's, how do we get people into this SIG and mentor them? Like, say, let's ignore the technical requirements and even the org membership of this proposal. How would you bring someone in and mentor them, given sometimes there are just you're looking at a cloud bill and trying to figure out how to minimize cost. Sometimes Prow is busted because an AWS permission got changed. Theoretically, that's not going to happen, but it could, and that person would have to debug this. That means they have elevated access to one or more of our cloud accounts. We don't want to give that out, right?
That's why you have technical leads, because it's now up to technical leads to basically build that trust. What you basically say, what we talk about here is trust, how we establish trust between someone outside of community touching the core of basically the infrastructure. This is a trust problem. It's not a technical one. How you solve trust at scale in the community. That's a question we're trying to solve for so many years. I don't have the solution for this.
I know,
but
you also, something you said kind of like sticks out, and it's like a thorn in my side. And keep in mind, I love these people like brothers. Aaron is never coming back to Kubernetes. He should not be a tech lead.
Yeah.
Tim comes down from the mountain to bestow like knowledge and wisdom and then goes away. He is not a tech lead. Like, okay. And then like that goes to SIG organization. But what I'm saying is, like, I agree with what you're saying. I'm just trying to provide and produce a solution that in a way like is sustainable for the community. We can't have this happen again. And I know you have been trying for multiple years to try and grow this. This is why I'm just like, all right, Fatih and I will come up with a proposal. We'll kind of model it after release managers and the release shadow team, and then see what we can do from there. The stickler thing was the fact that we have observed with the release team and the release shadows, anyone can apply, anyone can get in, and maybe 20% of people that actually become a release shadow stick around. Actually, it's less than that. And that is what we don't want, because we don't want churn in the SIG. We want to actually get more people that are here that stick around.
Okay, so I think I think there's a problem of like basically leadership currently in the SIG, and the only way to address it is to like rotate current TLs and also have more TLs. I think that's like the first thing we do. But also, I'm not against the proposal. Please, if you want to basically move forward with this, go for it. I'm not against it. Like, but my just concern is like, we need to make sure we don't gatekeep people. I think that's my main takeaway. We need to make sure we don't gatekeep people. I don't want people to struggling because we define some kind of high bar to be part of the SIG. Like, so what I'm saying and what you're proposing.
That's fair. Yeah.
What I'm saying and what you're proposing is most like a complement. It's like basically need to be mixed together.
Yep.
Because we need to fix our leadership problem. And that's true. We've been waiting for too long for this. And we also need to make sure we don't gatekeep people when they're trying to be part of the SIG. And I think that's like a difficult thing to do. So
Yep.
We're acting the way we're aware of the problem. Just
May I share some words? I'm a bit outsider to this thing, but based on what I've been observing with other communities as well as the release program, like, okay, everyone can join these meetings and try to contribute in best way they can and they want, and if the time allows or if their employer allows. But having something like a shadow program makes this a bit official, more official. Like I see many people are tweeting and posting stuff about applying to release team shadow program and becoming a release shadow, and then becoming a release manager for the next release. And that actually perhaps gives them opportunity to for their efforts to be recognized, and may help them when they go and talk to their employers to spend even more time with infra. Like sometimes if we just say, okay, the meetings are open, anyone can contribute, it doesn't really, at least in my experience, it's not that long-term commitment, because sometimes people just join these things personal time. But having some official kind of framework and some kind of shadow program with the possibility of having even more responsibilities would actually help those people to justify their engagement, as well as get some kind of return of investment of their times. Just this is my observation, and
you're right. That's what I'm saying. Basically, commitment doesn't mean people need to spend 40 hours a week on that. It's more like, if we basically let's say we start a shadow program, we expect rotation, because the rotation SIG release might not be the same in other SIG or other open source projects. So do we expect rotation for the people? Like, how we make sure people are happy about what they did for one milestone and walk away from that. Like, maybe people want to stay more, like 6 to 1 year, those kind of situations. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm not against the idea of the shadow program. I'm just concerned about the requirement to enter the program. And that's like the one thing we have to be careful. At the same time, Jeffy said, we need because having a shadow program means you need to have mentors. And that's like the one thing we are missing currently. We don't have enough mentors. If we have 20 people coming and say, oh yeah, we want to be shadows, we have to basically be able to select them. Once they are select, how we train them, how we basically guide them. And that's like why we have this TL conversation. So at the same time, we're trying to polish the program. At the same time, we need to also address the leadership problem. That's why we are not going against each other, just make sure we go forward with this.
Marco, I see your hand.
Yeah, it has been up. Okay. Sorry if I repeat what has been said. I have been a little off. But quite a few suggestions from my side about this, and from someone who has experience with SIG release way of working. I think it is very important to make a distinction here that this is not like release team. So the way release team work is that you get a bunch of tasks to work on, like go to this GitHub issue and then post this comment. And like, it is a great learning opportunity. This is something that is for sure, and eventually growing up to a mentoring role. But the issue is that it is supposed to be short term, and this is not what we want here. We want here long term, and taking release team as some comparison point or some, let's say, how it should look like might not be the best fit here. What is different thing is that might be helpful is how release engineering team works, or release management. So we have a bunch of release managers and release manager associates who are actually long-term team, rotated or added when actually folks want to step down. So you build a team of folks and you check up upon them regularly, make sure they're up with us, that they still want to stay on team, and eventually, if needed, add new folks. So this team doesn't really have to constantly have new folks, right? What we actually want is that we have eventually a stable team of folks who have experience, and that we periodically check on them, make sure they're still interested in that work, and if they're not interested, finding new people who is going to replace the people who is not interested anymore. For that to work, and these comments are already in the document, is that this has to work with trust. This has been mentioned in the meeting, so we can't really make the open survey and then have a bunch of folks apply and then they choose and they see they don't like it, disappear. This has to start with some bootstrap team that actually has experience and that actually have a good track record of being engaged in the community. But if we take release engineering team, release management team as some idea, that might work better than how release team actually work, because this is definitely not a good way of working for this team exactly. And I would personally, I agree this is an important issue, but I also mentioned this in chat. I think we should try to decouple the technical leadership and leadership of this SIG from the how are we going to work with this, because I strongly believe it shouldn't be limited that you have access to the infrastructure only to the technical leads. It should be a team like you have release managers who have elevated access to everything that's needed, that are not strictly leads. Actually, I mean, speaking of SIG leads, a lot of release managers are SIG leads, but there are some exceptions to that. There are a few of us that are not leads, and we still have access to everything that we need to do the job. So unless it is something super sensitive, like some super important secret GitHub talk and stuff like that, we should have a broader people covered in multiple time zones that can actually jump and do, but that are not SIG leaders, but only people who have this access and that we have communicated it and that we have like it somewhere publicly. Okay, these people are who are responsible for this. We should figure out the SIG leadership stuff, but I think it is important to decouple it here because I think we can do it a little bit better.
Yeah, there's. I think this is a long effort to establish shadow program. We might need more than one more conversation about this. I'm happy to follow up with all basically you, Jiffy or Fatih, and teams maybe next meeting. I think it's good we acknowledge the different concern and problem we have before we basically make that official. Also, I don't basically, because there are other subjects we want to talk about, we have like 15 minutes left before end of the meeting. I feel like we want to continue the conversation async. Yeah, Mario, but
Yeah, only quick idea. I think that most of the folks are going to be at KubeCon North America, right? So at least Arno, Dims, UGFI. Maybe we take chance there and say, let's try to solve the leadership problem directly when we are in Chicago. At least come up there with a solution. I mean, we don't need to implement a solution in Chicago, but maybe we can have a talk there and see what might be a good solution for the leadership topic, and then we can move forward with the shadow program or whatever we call it in the end.
We could probably do that as part of the contributor summit as well. Kind of like we did in Amsterdam, we had a little session. We could do that with the contributors summit.
Yeah, I mean, there's like Overtrack. I think we are OGs of the KubeCon, so there's like so many ways we can gather people to talk about this. Like, I don't think there's a way. I think I'm hoping to get some kind of solution regarding leadership problem before KubeCon. So I came with some kind of proposal and we had this conversation, and in person we get consensus of that on that. I think that's like the one thing I'm hoping for in Chicago. Not having the conversation, but more like conclude about the solution. Yeah, so we can like move forward with this program. I'm really interested about having a shadow program, but like we just cannot implement that right away because there's like there's like minimum requirement to make that program successful.
Yep. Well, in the meantime and ongoing, I say everyone that is interested, please read the proposal, please comment. Fatih and I will work on tweaking and making it thread the needle that everyone needs. So. We want to move on. Next one is me, but it's also quick. Or no, nod or shake head.
+1. I was writing something. Sorry.
Very good. Okay, so we have an agreement with KubeCost to or license for KubeCost. They were interested in us installing it on the Prow EKS cluster, so we can use it to actually figure out how much each job and each I don't know, everything costs, and we can kind of do a bit better of a price and budget breakdown. Like we can get pretty granular. Biggest thing is we, need to install it. So we just need to install it.
Can we first solve the problem we have? Can we basically solve the following topic before we talk about installing anything?
I would say it's not a blocker. We can give it a try. What I would like more is if it is possible for KubeCost folks, I don't know what level of support we have, but some introduction on how it works, or some contact point where we can reach out to them and actually figure out what's the proper way of deploying it, like that we make sure it works for our case. I believe it is pretty simple to install it, but just to make sure that we're doing it the right way and that we get the right data. Do we have anyone that we can follow up with, or how exactly this works?
I can make that happen. It'll be an email, but I'll take that action item. I see Arnaud's hand.
Arnaud?
Yeah, I think my main concern is like, are we confident we're going to solve the EKS stability issue in the next?
Well, let's move on to Marco's thing, because we know what, like, the state of KubeCost on Prowl for me is send emails first.
Okay.
And then that's good. So let's move on to Prowl EKS stability.
Okay. Yeah, that's a topic for me. So this issue is something that has been following us for several months now. For folks who are not aware yet of it, what happens is that nodes in the EKS cluster randomly get frozen completely. No logs, no anything, basically completely frozen. And we don't have any idea what's going on because we don't have logs. That's the first thing. The second thing is we don't have metrics. We don't know like what's CPU usage or the process that's running or stuff like that. There's nothing. We have been working with AWS support, and they have proposed some mitigation over the time. And I'm thankful for them for actually taking time to properly figure out what's going on. and they even have their senior Linux engineers take a look and all this stuff, and nothing happened. So none of the mitigations that we applied actually fixed the stability issues. There's some improvement in my opinion. It's maybe not as bad as it was, but it did help. So the problem is that they don't have idea how to proceed. Neither we do have idea how to proceed. What they want from us, the AWS support, is that we try Amazon Linux 2 or BottleRocket. The problem with Amazon Linux 2 is that it doesn't work properly with kind. So that's the thing. And to be honest, that's a blocker for us because it doesn't work with kind properly. It can spin one cluster, but if it tries to spin another cluster, then stuff goes wrong, and yeah, that's not good enough for us. BottleRocket might be better alternative because it has a newer kernel and might not have such issues, but all of that is going to take time to test. So we would need to actually, on Canary, get started with BottleRocket or Amazon Linux 2, but BottleRocket is the main priority for now. Try to get it working and like try to run some jobs manually by running pods to make sure that stuff is actually going to run. All that is going to be slightly problematic because we also have to make sure we have coordination with the community, because if we decide that BottleRocket might be a good alternative, we would have to put it in production, and that might break tests, and we would need to make sure that we don't affect SIG list way too much because of the testing signal, CI signal, and also other community members. So it's not going to be easy change, but they want, the AWS support want to temporarily, like for several days or for a week, run some of the operating systems that they maintain, because they might be able to more easy debug it because they have more idea how it works. They can do more stuff themselves, and it's much harder to do that right with Ubuntu right now that we use. I'm going to work on that. I'm also split between that and OBS. But I'm going to try to figure this out. I am honestly running out of ideas. If nothing gives results, maybe just reducing the size of node is like going to help in some way, but it would be nice to try to figure out what's going on. I'm going to see about that BottleRocket. If it works, then I will report back and we will try to figure out the next steps.
Ricky threw a question in chat, but not sure if you just want to say it out loud.
Yeah, sure. Good.
Oh, I was about to answer to the question, but like I'll leave Marco answer.
Yeah, it is about no termination handler. I think that we might have it. I would honestly have to double check. Like,
Okay, I know previously when running Kubernetes on EC2, I've also run into issues, not nearly as severe as I think we're seeing, but this has helped. I want to say that parts of it or some features of it kind of rely on running on AL2, so that again might be a blocker. But if we're not running it, it might be worth taking a look at.
yeah, I guess we can give it a try. Yeah, we can try it.
So I think currently the issue is not really affecting the master blocking and the master informing, right?
So we have seen issue.
Because okay, let me
seen...
rephrase. I think before, like, we need to make sure master blocking job run on GK. I think that's the first thing we need to do, and also master informing if possible. And with that, we just exclude, we make sure we are not in the path of the relays for 129, sorry.
That's it.
Once we do with that, now we can break things, and I say break quotes because we don't want to break the entire community for like a week, but have a break of 2 to 3 days is fine. There's no SLA on the CI. So I would say, yeah, make sure we are not in the path of 129 release. And at the same time, keep going with AWS support team because, yeah, they will try to escalate the thing until they basically say, oh, this is an issue we can't solve. So it's now up to us. And my default solution will be to move everything to GK. So I think, like, in order to proceed, if we want to basically try things, let's make sure we are not affecting the release on 129 by moving jobs, the master informing and master blocking to GK. So we are sure like we are not in the path of 129. Now for the rest, we can try to investigate, break things, and as long as we communicate about this, I think the community will understand that we are trying to solve an existing problem, and it's fine if we break the CI for 2 or 3 days.
So
I'll take the action to verify that all the jobs and master informing and master blocking are running on GK because I'm pretty sure right now that's not the case. I think we've got
and wait, there's a problem with that. So we shouldn't do that. I know this is an unpopular opinion, but we shouldn't do that. Because if we are moving jobs away, we are decreasing the number of jobs that's running and we are making it harder to reproduce the issue. And if we move jobs away, change the AMI and everything works, we don't know if it is because we moved jobs or because we switched the AMI. So we actually need to keep stuff as it is. And we need to say, okay,
but
for 2 days, great. For 2 days, it's going to be broken. It's important that it's not code freeze and it's not post code freeze. But if you say next week, it's, I don't know, week 3 or week 4, yeah, it's going to be broken for 2 days. And yeah, don't check the CI signal. It's okay. Like whatever happens, it happens. And we are going to see what happens. Because if we now start moving jobs away, because, okay, let's move to GCP, we reduce the number of jobs that's running, we are getting nothing actually. Because, yeah, we are moving jobs away and that's going to fix the issue themselves. We actually have seen a significant improvement in stability once we moved away kubeadm jobs, because there is much less jobs running in that cluster, and that fixed it. There's like no point in doing that again, because more jobs, yeah, you're going to face the stability issues. The stability issues only happen if you have like more stuff running on the cluster, like more jobs. It doesn't happen if you have only one job. It happens if you have multiple jobs per node, and multiple actually resource jobs that are using a lot of resources. Like we have observed many of issues that are using kind, and I believe that many of the jobs that are using kind are, for example, master reforming or master blocking. I don't think we have many of master blocking jobs, but yeah, I think that if you say for 1 day or for 2 days, we try it, and it's not a critical part in the release team, it's not code freeze, for example, then I would just try it as it is.
We're talking about proud jobs, right?
Yeah.
Why not have canary version of those master informing and master blocking in the EKS cluster? And have like a separate test grid dashboard saying, oh, those are canaries, or I would say copy of the master informing and master blocking from GK of running inside EKS. Because the idea is to make sure we are not basically CS team basically have good visibility on the CI. And at the same time, if you want to investigate because we need a certain number of proud jobs, we just make the canary version on EKS.
I don't think it's for the effort, really. Like, it's not really worth the effort, because we can't run this more than for a day, maximum 2 days. Like that's top, because it's not only about the master reforming, master blocking. We can break every other project that are not on.
We're not
blocking.
breaking them. We are not breaking them because there's an existing. Currently, the issue is happening, and the other projects are not broken. Right now, we're trying to establish an environment where we at the same time we make sure we get current good signal for the release, and at the same time we investigate the issue. Because we could basically say
we can't investigate the issue live. We can only see if it is going to change anything. And if it is not going to change anything, then we have to take some other approach. And like we are pretty much going to know if anything changed in like 2 or 3 hours after switching. Like if you don't see, because pretty much it happens every several hours, every day. So if you don't see anything happening for 24 hours, you know that it helped. And then okay, we will roll out back and then we will figure it out. If something bad happens, then you can do the same again. You're going to save the instance to do the rollout back to Ubuntu, and they're going to investigate that failed instance. So like as soon as we get either that we don't have anything broken for 24 hours, so that we get the first instance broken after a few hours, you can pretty much roll out back because you know that it's broken.
Okay.
But we are past the time. Like, I'm happy to discuss this async, and then we can figure it out how to do it properly. Let's first try to test Bottle-Rocket, because if it doesn't work, then our discussion is meaningless, and then we have to figure it out on Ubuntu somehow.
Okay.
Just one quick point. There's 2 master blocking jobs that are running on EKS right now. So, Mark, would you feel comfortable if we at least move those over to the GK8 cluster?
If we want to move anything, let's move that and give it like a week before we apply any changes to production to make sure that we have data. So yeah. But I would focus only on blocking for now. Like informing, yeah, it's not a big deal for now at this stage of the release. But yeah, I'm okay. If you folks want to move that from GK for now, yeah, sounds fine to me.
I think like Marcus said, let's wait another week, get feedback from EKS support team and see what we can decide later. I think we're not close to code freeze, so I think it's fine. We'll leave the project where they are, and in a week we can see what's happening.
And by the way, one more important thing: if it is only to do those 2 jobs, we can test them on Canary by running pods, and if it works, we don't need to change anything.
Okay. We are out of time, so see you later.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a beautiful night.
Bye. Thanks.